Hello, welcome to the Creative Chicken Online. Today I'm working in my small Dylusions art journal and I'm going to be creating a page based on my many trips to Universal Islands of Adventure in Florida and more specifically to Seuss Landing. So it's a Dr Seuss inspired page. Starting by covering my page with a coat of my white gesso. I'm using Stabilo gesso, which I find is perfect for giving a little bit of a coating to my pages in my art journal and just making them a little bit more resilient to some of the wet techniques that I often do. So give it a good coating with my gesso. Once it's all covered, I just get my heat tool and I'm going to dry my page off thoroughly. Now my page is nice and dry. I've picked up 4 distressed oxides. I've gone for Blueprint Sketch, Mermaid Lagoon, Salty Ocean and Twisted Citron. Now that my gesso is nice and dry on the page, I'm just taking a blending tool and applying the darkest of my blue distress oxides. In this case it's Blueprint Sketch, and I'm applying it with an ordinary blending tool in circular swirling motions. You'll find that because you've got gesso on your page, you do get a beautiful smooth finish to your inking. Now you'll notice on the bottom of my inks I have a little dot of Velcro. That's perfect for popping the blending pad on so that you've got the correct blending pad with each colour ink. So next I'm going in with Salty Ocean, which is a lovely shade of blue, and I'm blending that on the next quarter of my page and just taking it up into the darker blue above so that I don't get a distinct line. You want to blend these colours in because we're actually making the sky here, so we want it nice and soft. Now it's time to go in with Mermaid Lagoon. This is one of my favourite colours. It is beautiful. So again, just blending that onto the next quarter of the page, going downwards, so that eventually we have a gradient or an ombre effect of blues going up our page. Remember, take that blending tool up over each colour just to make sure they are blending in. So that's the sky done. Next, I wanted to add a grass effect, so I decided to go with Twisted Citron, which is a really yummy, bright, vibrant green. So I'm going to blend that on the bottom of my page, and that's going to give us a grassy effect. So now to just add a little bit of texture to the page. I'm just spritzing the page with water from my spritzer bottle, and because we've got water activated pigments here, we're going to get a lovely speckled effect. Of course, if you don't have a spritzer bottle, you could just use a splatter brush or even just a paintbrush with water on flicked onto your page. I'm then just using my heat tool to dry off the page. I'm now going to use a baby wipe to do a bit of ghosting. Baby wipes are wet when they come out of the pack, so I always squeeze mine in a bit of kitchen roll to get out the excess moisture. Then take my stencil and very lightly rubbing over the top. Because of these distress oxides being water-based, if we rub hard we're going to take all of the ink off, and I just want a light stenciled effect, so just using a very soft, light, feathery touch. Rub over the top of your stencil till you're happy with the pattern that you've got. So having given the page a quick dry, I'm now popping a little bit of black Stabilo gesso onto my mat, and I'm going to stencil that onto my page using a bit of fat foam, or cut and dry if you like to call it. Same stencil as before, picking up a little bit of foam, dabbing it off on my mat because I don't want too much, and then dabbing onto my stencil. It's really important to not get too much paint on your stencil, otherwise it will run underneath and give you just big splodges everywhere. That's why I tap it off on my mat before I apply it to my page. So just going around the page, adding the black areas wherever I feel they're necessary. So with the background finished, I've now got a piece of stamping card, roughly 2/3 the size of my page. And on this I'm going to draw my toadstools. So I start with just drawing in the stems. You can see I'm using pencil so that we can rub out any mistakes later. I'm then drawing an oval shape on the top of the stem, and this is going to be the underneath of the toadstool. and I'll just draw a few little gills on there so you can see what I'm talking about. Now, to build up the toadstool, we draw ever decreasing semicircles, beginning on that bottom shape and then just going upwards till we've got the height of the toadstool that we require. You can see I'm not being very precise, they don't have to be perfect in shape. It's whimsical. There we go, a bit of a mistake here, so we just take our rubber, rub that out, go back in and draw it again. And continuing up, getting a little smaller each time, and ending with a little bobble on the top. And that's our first toadstool drawn. I'm then just going to repeat that by drawing in 2 other toadstools, one at either side, using exactly the same technique. So now I'm going to colour my toadstool. I'm using my Distress Oxide inks here as a watercolour. Squidge the ink onto your mat, pick it up with a wet paintbrush, and you're ready to go. This is Barn Door that I'm using, and I do enjoy using my Tim Holtz Distress inks and oxides for watercolour painting. It means that I've got access to watercolours in all the fabulous distress colours. That's the toadstool all painted in. I've used a bit of Hickory Smoke Distress ink just to paint in the stems and the gills, and then taking my art journaling pen, I'm just drawing around the pencil lines from earlier and tidying up all of the lines around my toadstool. This is going to make the toadstool stand out. I've given my art journal pen a second or two to dry, and now I'm simply rubbing away the pencil lines. So now we're ready to get out our scissors and do a bit of fussy cutting and get these toadstools cut out and ready to go onto our page. So the toadstools are cut out, but before I stick them down, I'm going to just add a few spots using my art journaling pen and a white Posca on the red sections. So now I'm going to create the grass, and I've just gone back to my twisted citron. I've got a bit of stamping card that I know is wide enough to go across my page, and I'm just giving that a good coating of the twisted citron green to match in with the grass that's already on the page. So now the piece of card's covered in twisted citron, I'm just flipping it over, and with a pencil I'm drawing some spiky blades of grass on the back of my piece of card. The reason I'm working on the back is so that when I come to cut these out, there won't be any pencil marks showing on the front. So grab my scissors and time for a little bit more fussy cutting to cut out my blades of grass. So now it's time to start sticking onto my page, and I'm just applying some PVE glue onto the back of my blades of grass, and then I can stick those directly onto the page. You could of course use a tape runner if you've got one of those, but I find PVE works perfectly for this. So as you'll see, my grass is hanging off the edge of my page a little bit. It's not a problem, I can just take my scissors and snip that extra bit off. Then it's time to grab my glue again and apply it to the back of my toadstools. And we're then going to stick those onto the page in exactly the same way as I did the grass. Once the glue's dry, I'm taking a wet brush and I'm just going around the edge of my toadstools, and this is just reactivating the Distress Oxide ink that we put down first. I'm now able to mop off the ink, and that gives me a halo effect around my toadstool, which is going to help it to stand out from the page. So I've created my halo effect around the blades of grass and the toadstools, and I'm now taking my Stabilo Aquarelable pencil in black, and just going lightly around the edge of my toadstools again. If you haven't seen me using these pencils before in the past, they are amazing. They write on metal, plastic, glass and paper, and they have a very high pigment content. And as you'll see, when I apply a little bit of water on my brush, that pigment just comes out and we get a luscious black line around our toadstools. And again, this is just going to make them really stand out from the page. So continuing now, and I'm just going to do that all the way around all the toadstools. So I've now got some strips of stamping card, my journaling pen, and I'm starting to write out my Dr Seuss saying. You can find lots of these on Pinterest or just Google Dr Seuss quotes. So I've cut up my quote, stuck it on again with my trusty PVA glue, and now gone back to my journaling pen and decided to add some danglies from the top of each of the toadstools. So now I'm just going to finish my page off by taking my journaling pen and drawing very simple scribbled border. So just guide your pen down each of the sides of your page. It doesn't matter if you come off the scribblier the better for this kind of border. You're going all around your page with one line and then repeat for the second line to get an overlapping scribbly border. That's our page finished for today. Hope you've enjoyed crafting along with Creative Chicken. Please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and we hope to see you again very soon. Bye.